Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Valley Strong Credit Union, California Resources Corporation, Bakersfield West Rotary Stroop Family Foundation, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, Bakersfield City School District, Kern High School District, and AC Electric Company, with additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Math in the Real World, the favorite part of the show. I know it's my favorite part of the show because we get to get out here in the real world, see where the numbers collide with actual real life. And this is one of the really neat places that we have come to find here in Kern County. We are in an almond orchard and we want to know about how the heck almonds are made, specifically how they're pollinated, because that's a really big part of Kern County agriculture and a really big part of the interest I know of a lot of young people out there. So we want to learn about bees today. So I brought my friend Bree in. Bree, thanks for your time.
Hi.
I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit real quick just about what you do and how the heck you got involved with bees.
Okay, so at this time of the year, we are pollinating almonds. And this time of the year, I do colony strength inspections.
Okay.
I ensure that the 8-frame average is there that the farmer is paying for.
Gotcha. So the farmer wants as many bees as possible to come into the field, right? And without a bee, right, this flower does not become an almond. It has to have a bee visit it.
Yes.
Once, twice, 3 times, 10 times? At least once, right?
At least once, at least once. When the bee comes to visit, they're actually coming to drink off the nectar that is held in the bottom of the petals there. And going from flower to flower to flower, they pick up pollen on their little pollen sacs on the back of their legs.
Right.
And when they do so, visiting from flower to flower, they cross-pollinate the pollen from flower to flower, and when that petal closes, it forms an almond.
There you go. So you got to have a bee. Make sure it hits every single, or at least as many flowers as possible. So the farmer wants a lot of bees out here.
Yeah.
So you talk a little bit about an 8-frame colony. So bees come in a box. Most people have probably seen those, especially in Kern County. If you're driving along the roads, you see pallets of boxes. Inside each box are frames, right?
Yes.
What's on a frame? Like, why are the bees arranged in a frame? What's that all about?
The quality and the quantity of an almond orchard is dependent on a healthy pollination.
Okay.
So inside each box, the farmer wants to see an 8-frame average because that's what they are paying for. Okay. And in order to ensure that investment, we come out and inspect those boxes. And when we inspect those boxes, we get a good average count for the frame count in the yard.
Gotcha.
Or
And
the
just
orchard.
to be clear, a lot of people think of honey directly correlated to bees because, of course, bees make honey. But you're not looking at honey right now. We are just mainly interested in pollination and not honey production. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it can be kind of tough to calculate the exact number of bees on an orchard, but we can come pretty close.
Okay.
When we are looking in a box and when we open up the box, we want to see a line of bees going all the way across the frame on each side of the frame, and we count that as one. When we inspect an orchard, we inspect 25%. So if you have 1,000 boxes on one orchard, you would inspect 250 boxes. And with that 250 boxes that we inspect, we calculate how many frames are on each box. We total that number of frames, and then we divide it by the amount of frames or the amount of hives that we inspected. And that's how we get our average frame count for an orchard.
Right. So you're really doing a kind of a quality control deal for the farmer, right? You want to know if the farmer's really getting his money's worth.
Yeah, but what's beneficial about it is it also is a great benefit for the beekeeper as well,
Right.
because we provide a paper trail reputation for the hard work that they've done, and they deserve that, especially if their frame counts are above that 8-frame average.
Right. Right. Good deal. So, okay. So in a, I don't know if I can throw some numbers here at you real quick, but I'm going to try. In a 40-acre parcel, that seems like a nice round number for agriculture, right? In a 40-acre parcel, how many boxes of bees should be there for good pollination in an almond orchard?
Per 1 acre,
per 1 acre.
Yeah,
Okay.
is about 1.75 hives per orchard.
Okay.
So somebody quick with a calculator.
So 1.75 per acre.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So it'd be 1.75 times 40, so that'd be about 70 boxes, right?
Yes.
70 boxes per 40-acre parcel.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of bees to bring in.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. For the state of California, we need roughly 80% of the country's bees to pollinate our orchards. And what's so amazing about this specific area is it's 1 in 5 counties that can produce the almond orchards that we have.
Right. Oh, such a unique niche of the market here to be producing all these almonds for not just the country, but for the world. We produce a lot of almonds here in Kern County.
Yeah.
And they all have to have bees. Well, I really want to go take a look. I
Yes.
know we all want to go take a look. And so when we come back, we're going to see if we can get into some suits, get into this equipment, make sure that we're as safe as possible. But we also want to get in there and see some doggone bees, man, see what's going on there. Maybe we can ask them some math questions. Welcome back, Math in the Real World. And look at me, really getting ready to see these bees. Here we go. We're excited to get into a beehive. Bree, here we are. You have much less equipment on than I do. However, I'm not going to claim to be the expert that you are. Obviously, you know what you're doing, but I feel protected with what we're doing. What do you got in your hand, first of all?
Okay, so this is my smoker.
Okay.
Bees communicate with dances, but they also communicate with pheromones.
Okay.
This breaks up that pheromone communication. When bees become upset, they give off a banana Laffy Taffy smell in the air. It's a very sweet smell, but we don't want to smell that today.
Right.
Also, it kind of resembles a forest fire. So anytime that any emergencies come close, or they may have to abscond very quickly, it's their instincts to gorge as much honey as possible. So when we smoke that hive, they're busy gorging on honey and not so worried about us.
There you go. Good deal. That's a good thing, because every once in a while, I mean, usually when you open up a hive, you're taking the roof off and rearranging their furniture, and not everyone likes when that happens. So we've got to distract them a bit, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go take a look. I know John's going to help us out here a bit as well.
Yep.
So we're looking at a whole pallet full of hives, right?
Yep. And before we open up a hive, it's important to smoke the entrance. And if you give them just a few minutes for the smoke to rise through the box and for them to distracted by gorging in that honey, then we have a little bit more of calmer bees than if we just lifted it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, go ahead.
And while you crack this, I just got to ask, because I know people are interested. You're going to work these bees with no gloves. Why do you feel comfortable doing that? Tell me a little bit about that real quick, if you wouldn't mind.
It's all about understanding bee behavior.
Okay.
The first thing that I like to do when I open up my hive is just smoke off the edges here. That way I can work the bees comfortably without smashing any of them.
Sure.
It's just important to remain calm and stay calm and not squish any bees and just work slow. This box here is lined with a whole lot of propolis. Propolis is another wonderful medicinal
It's a product that the bees make,
yes,
right?
that they
I've
make.
heard it even went on the space shuttle or something like that. It's an unbelievably strong product that they make.
Yeah, it's super sticky, and it's got a whole lot of benefits to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've kind of welded those frames into this box pretty well with all the propolis on the edges, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And if we were doing an inspection on this box, the first thing that I would want to take note of is how many bees and how far wide that cluster is.
Okay.
So here we can see it's kind of hard to see that there are bees along this side here, but with the work that they've done, I would imagine underneath here on this side we have a large amount of bees. So if we have bees on this side, and we can see bees working this side and this side of the frame. So each frame where the bees are working both sides of the frame count is 1.
Okay.
So here we would have a frame count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then this one we do have some work, so that would be up to the inspector, but I would say this is a solid 8 frame count of bees.
Gotcha. And those are 8 frames, and then again, that one looks a little different in the side there. Tell us what's going on the edge there.
Okay, the beekeepers, especially when you're commercially running this many bee boxes, it's important to supplement the bees. Here is a syrup feeder. Oftentimes this time of year, a beekeeper is feeding ratios of sugar water 1-to-1 or corn syrup, just to help production and to help stimulate that queen to start laying eggs.
Gotcha. So this is the extra little food inside the box.
Yes, absolutely.
So some of the bees don't even have to leave the box to get their meal, and some
Yeah.
of them do, right?
Yeah, and preserving their energy is really key, to help build that box stronger in time for pollinations.
Gotcha. Okay, again, from your experience, can you tell us, why are these bees so ridiculously calm? I mean, maybe, are they just so happy to be in California in the middle of February and it's 75 degrees, or because all the almonds are ready? I mean, they're just so chill. I'm glad I have my suit on, but it's almost like I wouldn't need one. You don't have one on, and you don't seem to be bothered by them at all.
Understanding bee behavior is why, and bees aren't. They want to defend what's in there, but they really don't want to bother you just as much as we don't want to bother them. They tend to mind their own, they're pretty docile for the most part.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I know there's a big entrance on the front here, but there's also a little entrance on the top box that you took out there. What's the difference, and why do you have two entrances to a hive?
This is just a style of a box.
Oh, okay.
I'm not quite sure. Maybe that was why that was placed in there, but
So
not really any purpose.
Last question real quick. This hive here down on the bottom and this box that you have here, are they the same hive? Like, is this empty on the bottom, or are they two separate hives?
So these would be one solid hive.
Okay, gotcha.
And there's one
Like a
queen.
two-story.
Yeah, it's like a two-story queen.
Okay.
Ideally, these would both be brood boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and as the honey. As it's that time of year, we will add on a honey super to harvest honey from.
Right,
And any
gotcha.
additional honey that the bees build inside of these deeps will stay with the bees over winter.
Right.
Bees typically build honey, brood, and honey. And then during the winter, they go dormant during the winter. So with no pollen available, that's what they eat on.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. I mean, they're almost like preppers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
bees are like little mini preppers. They got to get ready for the winter. So much stuff to learn, so many things we've already learned, but we know we want to get a little bit more in depth as far as the numbers and maybe even what you can do to start bees in your backyard. We'll never know. We're back. Math in the real world here in an almond orchard here in Kern County, and we want to know more about these bees. Bree has been so kind as to start to take apart this hive for us a little bit so we can see what's going on within each frame. So Bree, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing as you pull out each frame of this hive.
Okay, this frame in particular looks like a pollen frame. The color of the pollen is a distinct indicator on the overall health of a colony. As you can tell, this pollen that's packed in here is pretty dry, and that's exactly what we want to see. Anything around it right here, this shiny liquid that's down in here, it's going to be pretty hard to see with such dark honeycomb, is nectar, which will eventually turn its way into honey.
Gotcha. So the bees are out foraging and they're bringing it back, and the pollen is the protein, right, that the bees need, just like we need protein, and the honey or the nectar is like the carbs, right? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay.
What's great about almond pollen is it's 25% protein, so they really get those nutrients that they need. I'm hoping that we see a queen, but we're not getting into any brood, so we won't see her. Here again is another pollen and nectar frame. Let's see if we can get in here and see some eggs.
And while you are looking for the queen is she's the main focus of the whole hive, right? She's what populates the hive. And I know people always ask me whenever I talk about bees, how many eggs can she lay per day?
So roughly an average queen will lay anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day.
Wow. So the population of this hive really kind of can turn over in a matter of weeks, if not a month or two, right?
Oh, very quickly,
Yeah.
very quickly. It takes 21 days for a worker bee from an egg to hatch. It takes 21 days.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
very quickly, you can double your colonies, your number of colonies, especially this time, or your number inside a colony, especially this time of year.
Right, because there's just so much food for them to eat in the almond orchards, and of course that's doubling the population of the hive, but it's also, like you said, helping the farmer out, because without the bees we wouldn't have any almonds.
Right. Bees pollinate 80% of the crops and orchards that we eat on. So 1 in 3 bites that we eat are pollinated by bees. So without honeybees, we wouldn't have the food available that we do.
And so this is part of your inspection process, and you can see that these 8 frames, they all have bees on them. Is there anything else you're looking for as far as diseases or maybe some kind of structural thing that is good or bad as part of a frame?
As an inspector, it's not my job to inspect really any diseases or anything like that, unless it was something pretty scary. But as an inspector, I won't lift frames. As beekeeping classes, and if somebody was taking beekeeping classes with me, doing inspections is very important as a beekeeper, and inspecting your own boxes. You want to inspect your boxes about every 10 days.
Just to make sure that it's healthy and you can do something about it if it's not, right?
Yes,
There you
exactly.
go.
Preventable maintenance inside your hive will save you lots and lots of troubles.
Wow. Okay, so you talked about a bee class. So people could have bees in their own backyard, right? You could have a box of
Depending
bees.
on where you live, you have to be county, not city.
Okay.
But if you're interested in beekeeping classes and you would like some on your property and you live in an area that is safe to do so and legal to do so, beekeeping is very educational and rewarding experience that I think a lot of people can enjoy and should.
Right. It's just such a unique deal and not dangerous at all. I mean, I think people have certainly that idea that, gosh, we don't want bees in our neighborhood because they're dangerous. Well, if they're not coming from a box from my house, they're going to be coming from somewhere because we see them on the roses and we see them on the flowers and all that fun stuff. So if a student wanted to be a beekeeper at some point, what would be an important thing for them to do in school at this point? Maybe some math?
Right? If somebody's interested in keeping bees, there is all sorts of resources available to learning how to keep bees.
Gotcha.
I always suggest a mentor. There's lots of variables associated with keeping bees, and it takes years and years of knowledge.
Right.
Even myself, am still learning every single day. Your old-time beekeepers that have been doing it for generations are still continuing to learn.
Yeah. And that's nice, a continual student of life and student of bees. We want to thank you for your time.
Thank you
Really
so much
appreciate
for
you
having
having
me.
us out here. This is our famous Do the Math tile. Maybe you can plaster on the side of one of these bee boxes that's over here, and maybe we make a little dent in the bee world.
Thank you. I love it.
Learned a ton about bees today, learned a ton about the numbers that go into it, but especially about how they're so important for the agriculture here in Kern County.